we always say that, save the best for the last. So the session that we will end today's ICC 5th Gem and Jewelry Summit will be with this. And the most important thing is that this is a very important and a knowledge-oriented session that will determine the future with which the gold industry, the purchase, the standards, the various processes would work. My first question to Mr. Somsundaram, because in terms of determining the policy and the standards with which we in the future in India as a member of jewelry community, we would like to work. So we have here in our panel IIBX, IFSCI. What, sir, to you would be in your imagination or maybe a reality in the future, the way we are procuring gold, the way gold is coming into the country, the standard, the quality that as jewelers or karigars we will procure? What is it in your mind that we foresee it happening and the infrastructure being built towards the same?
This thing is with the India International Bullion Exchange, we should stop thinking of the exchange or the way of the future only from our point of view. We should start taking a global point of view. Globally, gold is playing a far more significant role in the monetary system. We are never going to go back to the gold standard as this thing, but it is going to play a greater role. I mentioned this morning, 1,000 tons purchased by central banks. What does it tell us? That, to shore up reserves, they are trusting gold. Therefore, what we need to do as India is to actually start taking a global view of everything. If we can be the second largest consumer and India is growing to be 5 trillion, and once we cross 5 trillion, I think 10 trillion will be a matter of probably a couple of years, because then the momentum will be very different. Should we continue to be just buyers of gold through our OTC system resting on banks, or should we actually become a biggest bullion trading center in the world, most trusted for vaulting, for processes, for settlement, and for other things? At the moment, it does not appear very easy for us. It will never be easy. But if we can be a large trusted partner in all IT initiatives across the globe, why can't we be a large trusted partner in the bullion ecosystem? First of all, a vision has to be set and we have to move towards it. And IIBX is the first part of the vision. So to answer your question directly, our way of buying will change. It will become far more easier. You think of gold bar, today you have to know some people. You need not probably, because those known people will be in the exchange and you can buy it. There will be less counterparty risk. There will be more bank funding for the jewelers. All this will happen, but this will happen only when we have a greater role in the global bullion ecosystem. I'm once again saying, at this moment, it will seem laughable. Oh, we are not even there. LBMA is handling it. Bullion banks are there. Indian banks are not there. But in I have now been working for 37 years. I can say I've seen the changes in India, and the changes that we are going to see in the next 10 years are going to surprise us more than what has happened in the last 37 years.
Thank you, sir. A question from Mr. Sharma. We have heard of Shanghai Bullion Exchange, and I think that what Mr. Somsundaram said, that we might be in 3 years seeing India in a much more powerful position in the bullion world. So what is the steps that IFSCA is taking towards, but ultimately we shall all benefit out of the rules, regulations, and the processes that you create?
Yes. So when we talk of infrastructure in any space, so that forms the basis or the foundation for the building which you are trying to make or erect. You gave the example of Shanghai Gold Exchange, very relevant for India. Not things all Chinese or not all things Chinese sometimes may become a good reference point. but then they are never, means you can always find something of relevance to us. Right. So this is something which we have seen, that how from nowhere, if they built an infrastructure which suited their overall economic policy and their vision. So as Mr. Somasundaram said, so once we have our vision, I believe that we can build an infrastructure the way we built the kind of trust or the name in IT. In fact, today, the kind of road infrastructure for that matter. So why not gold? Now, that's where I believe that when you are making, say, as a regulator or from the policy side, right, the infrastructure is erected for what or for whom? For the participants. Right. Now, whether the appetite is there for the participants to actually try and look at the modern way, that is where the orientation outward, that looking at us from outward, that how do we look? How does the huge, sometimes chaotic gold market to an outsider, how do we view it from the outsider's perspective? Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to then ask ourselves, are we willing to change ourselves also? It is not that the business ethos or the business fundamentals are required to change. So what IFSC is trying to do in its, because the mandate is such that we become the gateway or the global entry point or exit point for India. Yeah. Right. So it's for broader financial markets, whether it is banking or capital markets or insurance or funds. So gold is a very, very important asset. So we have had inherent strength. We have the legacy outside. And IIBX, as Mr. Som again said, that is the first step. But that is just the first step. And while we take more steps, because there are a lot of things in the offing, we are working because these are the initial stages. We are trying to start a debate on multiple fronts. But I believe that a lot has to come from within the industry, and it has to demonstrate the appetite that they are willing to actually at least try this new path, which has become the global. There are already global examples, and in fact, if we fail to catch up, we are already late. But then when India starts moving, the elephant will still be able to actually make its presence felt. So if we fail to actually get interested or try or show or come or to take 2 or 3 more steps ahead, to at least try and look at it, that what is the potential and what are the possibilities through this experiment, which starts with IIBX. Otherwise, we believe that we have everything in place, and the regulatory support and the policy support. In fact, that is something which will not be lacking. Unfortunately, as there again, the SRO ideal, maybe that one policy point that, okay, from the industry, this is one voice of the industry, and that voice or the opinion of the industry is then taken by the policy making side. That is very important. When we are making the infrastructure, we should have this dialogue, and the dialogue should be more honest, and we should all have more trust. All sides should have more trust in each other, and then we build the infrastructure that we need and we want and we deserve. That's what I thought, that from the regulatory side, there are a lot of players, but we can do a much better job than what we have been perhaps believing that we can do. That's right. What I want to do.
So I understand, sir. मेरे को जो लग रहा है कि आप लोगों का जो expectation है, or from the government, somewhere down the line for the greater industry, वो आवाज पहुंच नहीं रहा है. And I think the objective should be to make it more inclusive and reach out to the last point. तो वो effort हम लोग को continuously करना पड़ेगा. And I think that's ये जो IIBX है, बहुत सारी चीज जो है ना, actually लोगों को पता ही नहीं चल रहा है कि हो क्या रहा है. So we'll come back to you in terms of future में और क्या IIBX छोड़ के क्या आप सोच रहे हो ताकि लोगों को पता चले. अशोक जी, ये question आपके लिए. हर बार आप आते हो कैलकाटा में और कुछ नया न्यूज और नया इम्प्रूवमेंट और नया अपग्रेडेशंस के साथ आते हो, तो इस बार IIBX कहाँ तक पहुंचा है? मैं अपने तरफ से बोल रहा हूं कि मैं तो अप्लाई करके भी बहुत सारे प्रोसेस एंड पेपर वर्क में फंसा हुआ भी रजिस्ट्रेशन हो नहीं रहा है, बट IIBX कितना दूर आगे पहुंच गए?
थैंक यू। सो सेन साहब, क्या होता है कभी कभी, हिंदी चलेगा, हिंदी इंग्लिश, हाँ। क्या होता है सेन साहब की कभी कभी सेनको जैसी बड़ी पार्टीज जब आ जाती हैं हमारे पास, तो हम लोग को थोड़ा सा ना बहुत ज्यादा ड्यू डिलिजेंस करना पड़ जाता है, क्योंकि हम लोग उधर तक सोचे नहीं होते, तो लाइटर बीन, so it's almost there. Okay, so now coming back to what new things and मेरा पुरानी बात जो मैं सबके लिए बोला है कि IIBX अगर बना है एक्सचेंज है, ये इंटरनेशनल एक्सचेंज, लेकिन लेट मी टेल यू ये आप ही लोगों के लिए है। मैं थोड़ा सा संदर्भ और भी लेना चाहूंगा। अभी एक कोई काउंसिल की मीटिंग हुई थी जिसमें मुझे बुलाया गया था, उसमें कुछ इंडस्ट्री वालों ने बोला कि साहब ये कुछ मोनोपोली टाइप का चीज हो जाएगा या क्या है। मैं सिर्फ यही सबको बताना चाहता हूँ कि नया चीज ये है कि जैसे जब NSE यहाँ पे लिखा है, तो NSE नहीं आया था या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रेडिंग नहीं हुई थी या डीमैट अकाउंट्स नहीं थे, तो उस समय का आप इक्विटी मार्केट समझिए, और जब डीमैट अकाउंट हो गए और NSE आ गया तो उसके बाद का आप इक्विटी मार्केट समझिए, तो जो चेंज आया, दिस इज व्हाट एवरीबडी इन द इकोसिस्टम इज ट्राइंग टू डू, कि क्या हम एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक रिसीट, जिसको बुलियन डिपॉजिट रिसीट बोलते हैं, उसको एक्सचेंज पे ट्रेड करा सकते हैं। दूसरा, ये एक्सचेंज US डॉलर में है, तो इंटरनेशनल एरिया में IFSC हमारे रेगुलेटर हैं। क्या हम जो डोमेस्टिक इंपोर्टर्स हैं वहां पे एक लेयर को बीच में से हटा के, जो कि नॉमिनेटेड बैंक्स नॉमिनेटेड हटा के, मतलब वो तो है ही, लेकिन पहली बार एम्पावर किया जा रहा है क्वालिफाइड ज्वेलर्स को जो एक सर्टेन क्राइटेरिया मीट करते हैं, क्या वो गोल्ड ले सकते हैं डायरेक्टली। दैट मींस कैन दे इंपोर्ट डायरेक्टली। अभी तक तो डायरेक्टली इंपोर्ट का है ही नहीं।
सर क्राइटेरिया है 25 करोड़ के ऊपर नेटवर्थ, राइट?
जी सर, 25 करोड़ के ऊपर का नेटवर्थ। लेकिन अगर आप देखें तो IFSC ने एक और रिलैक्सेशन दिया है, जो TRQ होल्डर है उसमें 25 करोड़ का नेटवर्थ की बात नहीं है। जो TRQ होल्डर हैं और वो उनको क्वालिफाइड ज्वेलर की कैटेगरी में डाला गया है फॉर द लिमिटेड पर्पस ऑफ importing gold through IIBX within the TRQ quota and within the timeline of that quota. So उसमें, लेकिन हाँ फिर डेफिनेटली आप ये कहेंगे कि जो DGFT ने जिनको वो कोटा दिया है उन्हीं के लिए, which is correct. So सेन साहब आपकी बात से, और ये कई लोग ये कहते हैं साहब सबको क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है। मैं कहता हूँ देखिए साहब, ये स्टेप बाय स्टेप अप्रोच है। हमेशा दिल मांगे मोर तो रहता ही है, ये दिल मांगे मोर, साहब अभी मुझे ये मिल गया, क्या है मुझे मिल सकता है। मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि हर एक चीज को हमें, जिन लोगों ने भी इसको बनाया है, स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, रेगुलेटर है, गवर्नमेंट की काफी बड़ी बैकिंग है, बहुत सारे थिंक टैंक्स हैं, तो हमको ये उनको डिमॉन्स्ट्रेट करना पड़ेगा कि फर्स्ट स्टेज पे क्या हम सक्सेसफुल हो गए हैं, उसके बाद हम सेकंड स्टेज पे जाएंगे, फिर थर्ड स्टेज पे जाएंगे। अनफॉर्चुनेटली कभी मार्केट में क्या हो जाता है कि जब हम फर्स्ट स्टेज पे जाते हैं तो हर कोई थर्ड या फोर्थ स्टेज की बात करने लगता है। होगा, वो भी जरूर होगा, और हम चाहेंगे कि आप सबकी गुड विशेस रहे तो वो भी हो। और धीरे धीरे सुबह से हमने काफी सेशन सुने जिसमें इंडिया को ओपन करने की बात थी, रुपी की कन्वर्टेबिलिटी की बात थी, बहुत सारी चीजें थी। वो सब चीजें जब आएंगी तो दिस विल बी द आइडियल प्लेटफॉर्म फॉर एनीबडी टू एक्सेस एंड पर ये सिर्फ पहली स्टेज है। मैं क्विकली आता हूं बिकॉज आई नो वी हैव अ वेरी टाइट टाइमलाइन। हम लोग ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जल्दी से जल्दी आपको गोल्ड मिल सके। उसके लिए ट्रेड के 30 मिनट के अंदर हम सेटलमेंट साइकिल इंट्रोड्यूस करने जा रहे हैं। सुबह 9 बजे अगर एक्सचेंज खुलेगा तो 9:30 से 5:30 तक हर आधे घंटे पे ट्रेड की क्लियरिंग साइकिल होगी, ताकि आपको BDR इमीडिएटली मिल जाए। आज की तारीख में वॉल्ट अभी गिफ्ट सिटी में है, उसके बाद 2-3 और जगह SEZs में वॉल्ट खोलने की तैयारी चल रही है। जैसे ही वो सब चीजें होगा, रेगुलेटर से भी नोटिफिकेशन आएगा, हम लोग भी बताएंगे, ताकि हर सेंटर पे आपको गोल्ड क्विकली मिल जाए। तीसरा एक और चीज जो है हमको ये भी बताई की जा रही है, हमारे कुछ बैंकों के साथ अरेंजमेंट हुआ है, जो हमारे क्लियरिंग बैंक हैं, उन्होंने बोला है कि रुपी डॉलर कन्वर्जन के 2 घंटे के अंदर स्विफ्ट मैसेज के बेसिस पे आपका डॉलर हमारे पास आ जाएगा, जिससे आप ट्रेडिंग कर पाएंगे। तो देखिए, जो जो आप कहते जा रहे हैं हम आपको सुन रहे हैं, और वो सारी चीजें हम करते चले जा रहे हैं। लेकिन ये सिर्फ स्पॉट की बात है। अभी गोल्ड का जो डेरिवेटिव्स का रिजर्व बैंक का सर्कुलर आया है, उसके लिए भी हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं, ताकि गोल्ड फ्यूचर्स के ऊपर काम कर सकें और आपको इंटरनेशनल रिलेटेड प्राइसेस, जिसको आप यहां से बैठ के हेज कर सकें। और उसमें क्वालिफाइड ज्वेलर का कोई जिक्र नहीं है, एक्सपोजर ऑन गोल्ड प्राइस रिस्क अदर देन इंडिविजुअल। तो आप और मैं एज एन इंडिविजुअल छोड़ के जिसके पास भी गोल्ड प्राइस रिस्क है वो उसमें हेज कर सकता है। तो देखिए, स्टेज बाय स्टेज सब चीजें आती जा रही हैं, और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हम लोग सही दिशा में हैं। इस पे काम बहुत अच्छे से हो रहा है, आप लोगों का साथ चाहिए। देखिए, अगर आप लोग हमारे पास ट्रायल ट्रांजैक्शन भी नहीं करने आएंगे तो हमें लगेगा कि साहब इतना सब खड़ा किया है हमने जो अरेंजमेंट, और आपने जो जो मांगा हम सब करते गए, लेकिन फिर अल्टीमेटली ये किसके लिए है? जैसा मैंने ओपनिंग सेंटेंस में कहा, ये एक्सचेंज आप ही के लिए है, और इस एक्सचेंज को सफल बनाना भी आप ही को है। लेकिन मैं सोम साहब की एक बात और बताऊंगा कि अल्टीमेटली दिस इज इंटरनेशनल एक्सचेंज, जिसके बारे में अभी बहुत सारी चीजें नहीं बोल रहा हूँ। लेकिन हमको 800 टन अगर हम यहाँ इंपोर्ट करते हैं, सुबह आपने बताया था कि $60 बिलियन या कोई नंबर बताया था सोम साहब ने, प्राइस इन्फ्लुएंसर बन सकते हैं। ये एक मल्टीपल प्रोडक्ट्स आते चले जाएंगे, जैसे जैसे वो प्रोडक्ट आते जाएंगे हम सेमिनार, रीच आउट प्रोग्राम या वेरियस एसोसिएशंस के साथ काम करके आप तक वो पहुंचाएंगे, ताकि आप अधिक से अधिक लाभ उठा सकें आईबीएक्स का।
राइट राइट। सो मेरा तो यही सोच रहेगा कि हम लोग का कैलकाटा या ईस्ट में जो भी ज्वेलर 25 करोड़ के ऊपर नेटवर्थ है, दे शुड कम फॉरवर्ड। सेलर्स हो कि बायर्स, जैसे हर्षद जी जे गोल्ड, दे रिफाइनर्स है, दे शुड ऑल्सो बी अ पार्ट, क्योंकि वो मार्केट फिर बड़ा हो जाएगा। ऐसा नहीं कि खाली बाइंग मार्केट बड़ा होगा, सेलिंग मार्केट भी बड़ा हो जाएगा, नंबर वन। And the whole thought of becoming a price maker as an Indian, which will really help us overall in the business scenario. Market का demand up है या down है, price up down accordingly Indian market होता जाएगा। And आज जो एक चीज आप लोग को समझना है, जैसे मिस्टर सोम सुंदरम बोला, रुपी डॉलर कन्वर्टिबिलिटी, धीरे धीरे ये जो वाया बैंक्स हो रहे हैं, थैंक्स टू डिजिटलाइजेशन चीजें बहुत ही फास्ट हो जाएगा, स्मूथ हो जाएगा, बैंक्स का कमीशन ये वो चीजें ब्रिज होते जाएगा। सो थिंग्स विल बिकम फास्टर। इट इज जस्ट दैट हम लोग को परख करने के लिए पहले फास्ट मूव करना पड़ेगा। नाउ कमिंग टू वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स सिचुएशन, पूरब आप IIDM में हो, इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ डेरिवेटिव मैनेजमेंट, तो इसमें आप लोग गाइड करते हो, कंसल्ट करते हो इन टर्म्स ऑफ फॉरवर्ड्स एंड ऑप्शंस। आज गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ न्यूज दिया है, वो लोग भी एनालाइज कर रहे हैं ऑप्शंस को लेके। तो सारे लोगों को ऑप्शंस मालूम नहीं होता है, वो थोड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स है। अगर आप बता सको कि प्लेइंग मतलब ये जो पूरा ऑप्शंस है, फ्यूचर्स है, ये बिजनेस के लिए कितना जरूरत है, एंड आप कैसे उसको हेल्प करोगे, ताकि कि IIBX जब होगा तब गोल्ड लोन में मिले कि ना मिले, आउटराइट खरीदना पड़े, क्या प्राइस में क्या करना पड़ेगा। आप अगर कुछ हाउ डू वी मेक द बेस्ट यूज ऑफ द एक्सचेंज, आज NSE भी मिनी गोल्ड ऑप्शन के बारे में बताया, सो आप अगर कुछ गाइड कर पाओ।
थैंक यू सर। मेरे ख्याल से सब लोग ने इधर आमिर खान का 3 इडियट मूवी देखा है। मैं एक एग्जांपल से स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ सर। राइट, एवरीबॉडी हैज सीन 3 इडियट मूवी। तो उसमें आमिर खान ने एक बहुत सिंपल स्टेटमेंट दबाया, फैन चालू हो गया, इट्स अ मशीन। तो सिमिलरली जैसे अपन मॉर्निंग से सारे सेशंस में चालू है कि टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन, मशीन ड्रिवन, बहुत सारी चीजें एंड ऑल हो रही है। बट व्हाट वी डोंट रियलाइज, जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, कि वी जैसे अपन मशीन से सराउंडेड है, टेक्नोलॉजी से सराउंडेड है, वैसे ही अपने डेरिवेटिव्स से भी सराउंडेड है। डेरिवेटिव्स क्या है मैं उस पर बाद में आऊंगा, बट एक सिंपल जो अपन डेली लाइफ में करते हैं, अपने GML कर रहे हैं सारे ज्वेलर्स, CC करते हैं, USD INR करते हैं, फॉर दैट मैटर अपन बैंक से लोन लेते हैं, कुछ भी लेते हैं, सम वे और दी अदर वो एक डेरिवेटिव प्रोडक्ट है। ये तो चलो कॉम्प्लेक्स चीज हो गई। अपन लाइफ इंश्योरेंस लेते हैं, अपन मेडिकल लेते हैं, एनी इंश्योरेंस वी टेक, एनीथिंग वी टेक, all these are derivative products. मैं derivatives इस समय explain करना is a very big subject, it's a very complex subject, but बहुत layman terms में ये है कि derivatives अपने हार्ट में, अपने ब्लड में है, बस अपन अननोइंगली कर रहे हैं. वही सेम चीज अगर जब अपन नोइंगली करें, अभी एक एग्जांपल से जैसे अपने डिस्कस कर रहे थे, लास्ट मार्च जब रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर हुआ एंड ऑल हुआ, उस समय कॉमेक्स पे गोल्ड का प्राइस वाज $2100 तक चला गया था, बट वी वर एट 56,000 ओनली एट दैट टाइम. आज इवन एट 2000 वी आर एट 60,000 वो एमसीएक्स. व्हाई? बिकॉज़ यूएसडी आईएनआर डेप्रिशिएट हुआ है. बहुत सारे लोग अपने जब आईआईबीएक्स पे कॉमेक्स का अपन ट्रेडिंग करेंगे तो ज्वेलर्स वो पर्सपेक्टिव से लेते हैं, बट फाइनली रिटेल में आता कौन है? जब रिटेलर को सेल करना रहेगा तो वो यूएसडी आईएनआर के कन्वर्जन के बाद सेल करता है. तो यूएसडी आईएनआर वाला जो एक इनके लिए बहुत, जब 5 ट्रिलियन 10 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी होगी तो यूएसडी आईएनआर फ्री फ्लोट होगा, बहुत अलग गिमिक प्ले करेगा. वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक्स में जो इन्फ्लेशन हो रहे हैं, इंडिया जो स्टैंड आउट हो रहा है, इट विल बिहेव वेरी डिफरेंटली. मेरे को उसकी थियरीज में अगेन नहीं जाना है, बट वी आर इनटू द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट पार्ट इन द एंटायर ग्लोब, और जब स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट तो वो नहीं होएगा. एंड ऑप्शंस आर सच थिंग फ्रॉम एवरी रिटेलर टू एवरी मैन्युफैक्चरर टू एवरी बुलियन पीपल. योर आज मेरा बिजनेस क्या है? what we need to analyze more important, मेरा बिजनेस क्या है? मेरा बिजनेस प्राइस रिस्क लेना है, या मेरा बिजनेस ज्वेलरी पे चर्निंग करके उस पे ज्वेलरी बनाना है, डिजाइनिंग करना है, उस पे मेरे को मेकिंग करना है और वो मेरे को कमाना है. अगर मेरा प्राइस रिस्क है, अगर मैं प्राइस के लिए अगर कर रहा हूँ तो वो तो मैं एक फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूट हूँ, फिर मैं ज्वेलरी नहीं हूँ. तो एज अ ज्वेलर मेरा काम प्राइस रिस्क लेना नहीं है, और जब मेरे को प्राइस रिस्क नहीं लेना है तो उसको मैं कैसे प्रोटेक्ट करूँ? और वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ डेरिवेटिव्स होता है. एंड प्लीज बिलीव मी, डेरिवेटिव इट इज नॉट स्पेकुलेशन. डेरिवेटिव बना ही हेजिंग के लिए. तो अगर अपने को प्राइस रिस्क जो अपने पूरे बैलेंस शीट में से निकालना है, तो इट इज ओनली डेरिवेटिव्स. एंड आवर बिजनेस इज टू मेक ज्वेलरी एंड डू इट फ्रॉम ज्वेलरी एंड नॉट फ्रॉम प्राइस रिस्क. तो प्राइस प्रोटेक्शन गिव्स फ्रॉम डेरिवेटिव्स.
क्योंकि एक प्रैक्टिकल जैसे अक्षय तृतीया हम लोग का 1 महीने बाद है. हम लोग एज ज्वेलर्स वी नीड 15, 20, 25 days टू मैन्युफैक्चर. कस्टमर कुछ खरीदेगा, पर हम लोग अभी डर के मारे उतना खरीद नहीं पा रहे. सो यू थिंक दैट ये डेरिवेटिव्स हो या हेजिंग, जो भी प्राइस है उसमें खरीद सकते हैं?
सर अगेन मैं जैसे बताया था कि for a jeweler the business is to make jewelry and earn out of jewelry making and everything, designing and everything. Price risk you should keep it separately only. प्राइस रिस्क लेना ज्वेलर का काम नहीं है, वो एक इंस्टीट्यूशन का काम है. उसके लिए एक्सपर्ट्स होते हैं, फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर्स होते हैं, वो उन लोगों का काम है प्राइस रिस्क लेना. तो ऑल योर डेरिवेटिव्स, मतलब एज अ कंपनी फ्रॉम आईआईडीएम हम लोग हर ज्वेलर को ये गारंटी कर सकते हैं, हेजिंग कम्स विद अ कॉस्ट. कोई भी चीज फ्री में नहीं आती. बट व्हेन आई कंबाइन इट विद योर इन्वेंटरी गेन, जो इवेंचुअली आएगा, शायद जब सेल्स डाउन रहेंगे उस समय इन्वेंटरी गेन बैलेंस शीट्स में नहीं आता, बट इवेंचुअली जब इन्वेंटरी गेन आएगा तो इन्वेंटरी गेन प्लस माइनस योर hedging cost would always be positive. उसमें कभी negative आ ही नहीं सकता. This is where hedging plays an important role.
Right. नहीं, ठीक है. Since this is the last panel and the whole topic is Vision 2025 with gold infrastructure, the future of gold, मैं हर एक पैनलिस्ट को यहाँ पे as a concluding remark पूछना चाहूँगा कि 5 years from now, where do you think we see the gold industry? सोमसुनम सर आपने कुछ hints दिए हैं, but एक दो maybe top 3, and as jewelers what will be your advice in terms of what we should do? I think that should be.
Sure. One is in the short run. This is again, I don't claim to know anything, but we can clearly see government will allow export of bars at some stage, because now IIBX has come. If you export, you have bar gold here and it is at a discount, you could be able to export it and take your dollar out. I think it is something the government will do once IIBX is now in place. And if you represent properly, it will happen. That's clearly something which will help also. Second, I think broadly, we should now start we should have a outlook on everything in a global way. In the morning also I said, if I ask a question, what do you think is the eastern region, particularly Calcutta? We always used to say it is the Karigar capital of India. No, it's a Karigar capital of the world. We should start changing our mindset, actually. Once that is done, you will start saying, how do I export to US? Not to the Indians in US. How do I export to the US? So it is in such thoughts. In fact, I have already spoken to some people, including ICC, we will work and see, let us build a context. Next 5 years, what are all the big changes we are seeing? You think that people will continue to buy jewelry, gold the same way? It is good, they may. But suppose they change, what happens to your business model? That is where things like IIBX, the unique identification, they all come in handy. Unless you are actually going in at the initial stage, you will miss out. This trend in bullion India has started. I think the industry should study in its own way, but be ahead of the curve. That's the only thing I would say. Lots of positives, lots of some pain will have to be taken, but it is better we take coming down. We are far better off.
Mr. Sharma, from your side, 5 years, what all you think?
Yes, so even as a regulator, perhaps a combination of wish list and maybe some sort of responsibility role in that is that I would want from the policy side, we want to call it, some committee, permanent committee, which is having representation from all sides. Central bank, starting from the central bank, which itself becomes a buyer, of course. And then because it's a regulator and the policy decider for the banking system, which has to play a big role in the overall gold infrastructure. So from the policy side, one gold board wherein you will have the revenue considerations. So you know what should be custom duty, the ideal custom duty, which optimizes the revenue as well as it doesn't obstruct the market development, doesn't result in distortions. That is one. Number two, SRO from the industry, one voice. We have to agree. That is, again, that perhaps comes in the category of wish list from my side. That is number two. Number three, I can see India becoming the hub for refinery with the kind of emphasis there is on manufacturing in general. Whatever be the margin there, but we can do a much more efficient job when it comes to cost. It is something which should be possible. So that means that we should be having policy support for encouraging more import of gold ore. I will, again, it's a leap of faith. I won't rule out or exclude the possibility of a Dore product on IIBX. So again, there may be some shades of wish list in this, but then these are not something which are out of reach. So this is three. Number four, I would want Indian banks to start coming out of the shell of the comfort which is inherent in the present consignment model, their role in the present consignment model. They start looking at themselves as a bullion bank. Because if you have IFSC for India and it is an international character, of course, because we have one thing there is no doubt about is that the globe is more interested in IFSC than maybe the Indian market, Indian industry so far. The globe is actually looking at a more active participation, more excitement from the domestic industry, but so they will be there for their own benefit, and that is how we should become the trading hub. And the distinction between an Indian bank and a foreign bank completely disappears and melts away when we talk of IFSC. But again, as a wish list and maybe the regulatory side also, this is another change that the Indian banks will come out and be a bit more of active players in all entire spectrum of bullion banking side, not just financing, even trading support, liquidity providers, market making. Look a bit difficult today, not for anything else, which is perhaps a structural weakness or something, but it's more about maybe on the side of the belief first. But I think it all will become reality.
Right. And what we hear from the fact that 16 or 18 closely linked with bullion and gold. I'm sure the industry will benefit largely with that. So thank you, sir. Ashok ji, आपका 5 years में अपना top 5 जो vision, Ashok.
So, I mean, so that my exchange name is India International Bullion Exchange. So all those out of 5, 4 are written there only. So let me elaborate. So India. So I'm very gung-ho on India and I want brand India. And when I say brand India, that's a much larger brand, but let's concentrate on India Gold. Can we all work together to have a international acceptance of India Gold brand? So any gold which comes out of India is globally accepted, not only for its beautiful designs, not only for its craftsmanship, but also for that purity and guarantee that whatever gold has been used, it has been responsibly sourced, it has been ethically done, and we have followed all the international as well as Indian standards, which are not only matching but better than international standards, and that gold is accepted. Today people talk about Swiss gold, people talk about Canada gold. Why not India gold? So that is my first wish list. Second is the international. Now, we have to have our stamp over international bullion markets where we become consumers, so everybody is, very happy, and PAMS where we have to manufacture things for the international market. But that international piece is that as a bullion market, can I have my footprint on the international scale? That is my aspiration in the next 5 years. Third is the name, which is bullion. Now in bullion, obviously, we have gold as well as silver and other metals also. There, can we gain our rightful place, as a largest consumer? Can we also work together with the global bodies where we become a voice, where we take lead in setting standards rather than looking at them, oh, those are the standards, okay, we'll follow it. So that is another wish list which I have. And obviously exchange. I firmly believe, I have been in the bank throughout my life and I mean, all love and regard for them. But I still believe, what we have seen in the equity and elsewhere in other commodities globally. Exchange, because of the transparency, the democratic way, the ease of business, and the risk management which is inherent in the exchange system, is the way to go for the bullion pieces. And that is my wish list. Now comes the fifth point. Fifth point, my wish list is and say this is yours and you have made it international. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok ji. Finally, Purav, आपके तरफ से, where do you see you're the youngest panelist here and a part of the industry? So, आप बताओ.
I will have two different perspectives, one from consumer perspective and one from jeweler's perspective. So first I'll come from a consumer's perspective. To me, just to give you an example, in approximately 2000, gold was around 4,000 rupees, Sensex was around 4,000 rupees. Forget the real estate part. Today, Sensex is at 60,000, gold is at 60,000. So when everybody say equity is the best asset class to invest, people forget gold can equally be a good asset class to invest in. So from a consumer's perspective, making gold as the best financial asset is very, very important from a government of India perspective. We as an Indian have too much of gold in our inventory. Too much of gold. Every household has gold. But how do you make it more as an investment opportunity for them? Like how equities are. It is so easy to buy and sell equities. Similarly, it should be very easy for a very common man, just not going to a jeweler because that is my only touch point. But how do I go and buy gold? How do I go and sell gold? Should be very easy of doing business to an individual also. So equity, like equity, gold as an investment class for consumers. Now, coming from the jewelers perspective, jewelers are no banks, nothing. Jewelers are the only trust from ages, from ancestors. People are buying gold from jewelers and they will continue to do it. What important for them is how do you satisfy the need of an consumer? If you're able to give him the right design, right need at a right price, this is where he will always be happy. And as Ramesh sir has said, you need to keep on adapting to the changes. So if you and the way next 10 years will come, the new age people will come, their buying habits will change, their investment tools will change, their trades will change. So if we keep that in mind and if we make products which are comparative prices, which are absolute prices, and which are affordable prices, this is where the jewelry fraternity will change and it will stand in global market as well. Because I'm very, very bullish on India and India, जो strength India में वो पूरे world में कहीं नहीं है. Next 10 years जो उस चीज का अगर India में ताकत है, then why not jewelry as well? So jewelry can do great heights.
Thank you, thank you. अगर हम लोग ये previous वाला panel में देखे, तो हम लोग देखे कि GJPC is taking the initiative of allowing Indian sell abroad below 8 level. So the opportunity, and as we all spoke from the morning, that it is a global vision with which I think we all in the Indian jewelry community has to work on. So thank you, our dear panelists, for a great session. Is there any questions? I think because we have such 2 minutes for question. If there are questions, yes, you can speak out.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. This is Sanjay Banka. I'm the CFO of Senco Gold. I have a few questions to the regulator. I came late, so may have been discussed. First point is on the gold bond. Like we are importing almost 1,000 tons of gold every year, and 600 tons are used by the jewelry industry. 25% over and above this is by way of recycling. Why don't we permit the gold bond to be raised by the jewelers? Like currently it's only a sovereign gold bond, but that's not very popular and clarity is not there. So that's one. I'm assuming that if the regulators can inform us what's happening on that. Second is on the digital gold. Like we have launched digital gold, but it can be made more trustworthy if the digital gold which we are holding with a third party vault can be appointed through a trustee. So suddenly in some time around June 21, SEBI came out with a circular and debarred the existing trustees to act as trustees. So they debarred IDBI trustee to act as trustee. If that can be taken up, this DigiGold will be in place. And third is on the AML, the recent AML guideline which have been implemented for the jewelry sector. I don't know whether much clarity is there on that. The 2 lakh limit has been reduced to 50,000 limit, which will become a major handicap for the jewelry industry. So while the large and organized players can still continue, but the small jewelry players will face a lot of difficulty. So on these 3 things, if we can find some views from the regulator, or if you are taking it up with the government. Thank you, sir.
Can I? No, first thing is, let me take the digital gold piece. The second question, clearly we have also represented. We are a little concerned about this digital gold growing everywhere because it's not definitely for a country like us. It's not very good. We need a regulation around it, or the government should simply say it should not. SEBI is looking into it because SEBI is launching the electronic gold receipt. There is some bit of what I would say cross wires. It'll get sorted, hopefully. At this moment of time, let me tell you, we are very concerned as a council also about the digital gold piece. There is no this thing there. Now, the first question was about gold bonds. Why can't jewelers raise gold bonds? See, gold bond is a liability product. Okay, when you take the gold from somebody and you say, I will give it to you 7 years later, government can do it. Even banks can't do it. To say jewelers must be allowed to do it will be a little bit of a stretch at this moment of time, because who will guarantee that? And who will regulate it? Again, sir, what I'm saying is some of the established players like yourself can probably handle it. But what we must always understand in India is rules are made for everybody. It can't be made for A, B, C, and D, but E and F will not have it. If E and F, who are not having same standards, also raise bond and they run away, what will happen? So the government will have to take care of that aspect. So unless we have a proper framework, it can't be done. What we can say is jewelers have been allowed to do gold monetization scheme. They collect it on behalf of banks. We must see how that can pick up, how jewelers can act as agents of banks. The last one I will comment is you spoke about AML. Okay, I have a different view. There must be ease of business. There is no doubt about it. But today, if I go and buy a 5,000 rupee mobile phone, sir, in a small shop in a corner, I still have to give my Aadhaar card, right? We must make a strong case why a jeweler, a minimum jeweler will have at least 1 crore in his stock. A guy who has invested 1 crore can't get Aadhaar card or a PAN card into this. It's a difficult job. I am saying you must be allowed to buy everything in the country without free, because now as it becomes digital, you look at our annual information system, you get very scared. Oh my God, did I spend all this? Okay. But we must make a strong case why we cannot get. I mean, people are coming to you who cannot account for that income or that cash. Is that why you're asking? So we need to make a stronger case. I take your point. Let me tell you, I'm sympathetic, and we also want the things to be faster. But the questions have to be answered a lot more strongly.
That was my point, that no.
No,
Comparison
agree.
with the SIM card is slightly more stressed.
I agree, sir.
Yeah,
But
thank
you can't, for instance, pledge a refrigerator and take money from a bank, right? You cannot pledge any of the white goods and take money from a bank, technically. Whereas this one, I can buy with a cash. Let's take it is unaccounted cash. I buy gold. I can still go to a bank and take a loan. Now that in a monetary system will be a problem, because technically see, ultimately that's what I'm saying. We must not look at people like us. We must look at how it will be misused in the larger scheme. The problem is always the laws are never made for 98% of the people or 99% of the people. The laws are made for 1% of the people who break the law. That's the way it is.
If you spare me, just to supplement, in fact, it is actually not necessary now for me to intervene, because you made it a pointed question towards the regulator. So I would just support the kind of drift Mr. Somsundaram was going about, that the kind of asks which we are coming up with, we should be really now a bit more careful, because I think in the closed room, we should not be shy away from telling each other or accepting the fact that the perception about the industry, perception about the customer of this industry is something which perhaps we also have to keep in mind. We have to do some work on that also. So these proposals, because they're all coming from well-meant intentions, but at the same time, in fact, coming from the Reserve Bank of India, we talk of digital payments. Every payment is digital. In fact, in the DPSs, I may just share that when we are every day being feted globally about having the most advanced digital payment infrastructure, at least on the retail side. The PTC will be as stronger, right? Now, but we are having this peculiar situation that we have the purchases of 200 or 250 rupees or 50 rupees, they are all done on a UPI. But when it is a land transaction or a gold transaction, people would say, take out some 50,000 rupees in cash. I have seen in Ahmedabad malls, some 20, 30, 40,000 rupees bill being settled by cash. So that's where the broader role, in fact, this industry, because of the very fact, it's not just like any other goods. Gold is almost money. It is like foreign exchange. From Reserve Bank's perspective, when I look at, I hear gold, it means foreign exchange. So we have to assume that much more responsibility, and these questions, suggestions, They are all very much welcome because they address whether it is monetization, can we do a better job of financialization of gold holdings? That's all being there. But I believe that once we have one voice and we organize ourselves, and then on the policy side, there is one gold board. Because most of these questions actually are meant for, you think that one regulator is sitting here, but then there are at least 5 or 6 different agencies in the government of India, maybe the central bank, who only can answer those pointed aspects. So I believe that this is where we can move forward. Right?
Thank you, sir, for time. Lastly, with HUID coming in, I think one ask for the industry is EMI on gold jewelry. I think if that would help, that will really.
I think, sorry to intervene, but we must make a strong case. We must assume everything that is good for the consumer and everything that is transparent will be done. We need the entire ecosystem to change. So the last one I'll tell you, we will not take PAN card. We will not take Aadhaar. As an industry, we say we will never take cash. All payments in the industry will be either through the new digital currency that RBI has brought or through UPI payments. Then we can simply dispense with everything. Is it possible?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all members, for being.